All right. Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Happy Magic Monday with Faye. I'm in my office today because my office is warm. We take it where we can get it this time of year. Okay, so just a quick Magic Monday today. Wanted to talk about, you know, well, really, what I wanted to talk about was how we get more love, but also how we give more love. And that the key to this is our ability to try to speak another language. And I don't mean like French or Spanish, although if you do, I think I think learning to speak languages is a superpower, so do it. Um, but here's why it's so important. Uh, a whole lot of love and care and generosity and information and general connection and relationship building is lost, completely lost through nobody's, you know, intentions. And the reason that happens is because we all know the world through our own lens. We know the world that we see. We know how we feel about what we're seeing and what we're perceiving with all of our senses, filtered through our stories. And we can only know that. We can't know someone else's experience. It is literally impossible. At best, we might be able to empathize if their situation seems similar to ours, but we're always kind of guessing because we can't actually be them, right? And so a lot of times people just miss each other because of that. You see this in traffic. The guy who is cutting you off, you assume that person's an asshole and that's why they're doing it. They're rude, they're impatient, they're a jerk, they're da, 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 whatever the stories are that you make up. And like, I'm sure you make them up. Me too. All of us. We do this. We snap to our own judgments and opinions about other people based on what we perceive them to be doing. And we come to those conclusions based on what we perceive, filtered through our own lens, filtered through our stories and beliefs about what is right and what is wrong. And all we're ever doing is filtering all of life through our own lens, through our stories and our beliefs about what is right and what is wrong. And a lot of times it's like that person is doing the thing I would do, so they're a good person like me. And that person isn't doing what I would do, but they should do it so that they're a good person like me. And herein lies a vast quantity of our struggle as humans getting along, right? This comparison, the judgment, the perceiving, the mistaking, and the assigning of what we believe to be the story about what they are doing, thinking, saying, like their reasons for all of it. And most of the time we don't know. We make them up and then we just go along our merry way. I don't know about you, but I notice that that causes a lot of unhappiness uh, in my world, in the world, in general. And so when I think about this, it makes me think about who wrote it? I'm looking because I have it down here. I'm not going to be able the Love Languages book. Whoever wrote that book, I should know. It's literally down there, but I don't want to waste our time. So there's this book. There's a website. It's called The Five Love Languages, and you can go online and you can do this quiz for free, and you'll find out what your love languages are. There's five. Let's see if I can get them right. So there is quality time, words of affirmation, acts of service, physical touch, and gifts, like giving and receiving gifts. So those are the five love languages. And I think this is, I mean, it's probably hypersimplified, and I'm sure that there are plenty of people in the world of relationship who would argue that this is bullshit or that there's some problem with it. Um, there probably is a problem with most everything, if you look at it long enough. But I do think that as a simple framework, it's actually very helpful for many, many reasons, because then you know. But much like any other quiz you can take, or quiz, or like a profiling tool, like knowing your Myers-Briggs, knowing your oh gosh, now I'm not even able to think of them, but like Myers-Briggs is a perfect example where people will be like, I'm an ENFJ, so this is what you need to know about me, and this is how you should be with me. That's not how it works. These tools are not made so that you go around with like a placard above your head saying, I'm a this and this is how you have to relate to me. No, those tools exist so that you learn yourself. You know you better. You know what you need so that you can use your grown up words and express those desires and needs in a way that has them more likely to be met instead of expecting other people to read between the lines, translate for you, and meet you in a place that you haven't even clarified. So super duper important with all of these tools that we're using them for the right reason. And like I said, that reason should be, and I don't use the word should that frequently. I don't. But the reason should be to know yourself better so that you know you and then you know what you're bringing out into the world. You know what you're bringing to the party. You know what you're bringing to the relationship. And so the way that I think it's super important in terms of like getting more love is if you know your love language, and if you go and do that quiz, it's free. You can do this quiz for free. You can do it with another person as well, and then it'll like map you guys out together, which is pretty cool. Um, if you know yours, what is it's going to tell you like in descending order what your core love language is, and also what essentially because it's in descending order, what your like key love languages and then the percentage that the others are for you. So essentially, it's important to realize it's not like my love language is physical touch and not the other stuff at all. Usually, it's going to be a percentage split. Rarely are you going to be a complete zero on something. So it's important because you might think that you know that you like to receive love in terms of like physical touch. That's how I feel loved. The reality is, it's probably not the only way you feel loved. And there's a bunch, so that means right away that there's a bunch of ways that you are, not distinguishing love when it's coming at you or not present to that these things also make you feel loved. So here's why it's super important. One, because, it's like all of this energy is just not being, it's like you've got a solar panel, but it's facing away from the sun. The sun is still there with all of the sun's energy. That is not changed. But if your solar panel is turned the wrong way, you're not going to be able to capture that energy and then harness it and use it and enjoy it. Right? So that's essentially what I'm talking about today is it's important to know your love languages in the order that they are there so that you understand yourself better. And then you can actually speak to those desires and needs and give the other person like a fighting chance at meeting them instead of just hoping against like wishing on wishes that some level flit your way and then you'll just get it. And then you feel so lucky when you get it, like, oh, I feel so good. Well, imagine that there's all of this love available all the time. And you're just missing it because your receptors are turned off. That this is a freebie, guys. This means that there's a ton of love available to you and you're not going to have to do too much to get it. You're just going to need to learn to like open the curtains that have currently been closed. And here's why it's super important. And I had this conversation with my mom recently. We were clarifying some ways to communicate with each other. And she shared, I really don't like texting. I really am not a fan of texting. I just feel like a lot gets missed. I don't disagree with her. I agree. As soon as we're typing words, the problems arise. The internet is perfect proof of this. And generationally, I am of a generation that is more comfortable texting than I am picking up the phone and calling. I never was a person, even as a teenager, that sat around on the phone and just talked to people. It's not what I did. And there's all kinds of reasons for why different generations have a preference. And this sounds kind of silly because it sounds like I'm just talking about texting. Hopefully, I'm not just talking about texting. There's a million reasons why people my generation and younger prefer texting. Part of it is because then we know we're not interrupting that person. Part of it is because we have shorter attention spans than our parents and grandparents. It's not a flaw. We are a product of the world that has been created in which we live. So we have a shorter attention span. So it's easier for us to send a text when we think of it, knowing that now that person has the information. The ball is in their court. There's a trail that can be traced and it's been handled. And I don't have to try to remember, 2 hours from now when I have enough free time or a moment to pick up the phone and call, hope that they're available and I'm not interrupting them, that it's going to work out. So there's all these reasons. The reasons don't really matter. What mattered was the conversation I had with my mom, which is I totally understand that you don't really love texting because a lot gets miscommunicated or misinterpreted, and it's hard to tell a person's intention. I really understand that. And um, here's why I prefer texting. And so when I'm doing it because I'm thinking of you. I'm messaging you that moment because you're top of mind and I want to make sure I don't forget this thing. And I want to communicate with you. I'm not messaging someone I don't want to communicate with. It's the other way around. And so this was a case where it was really important for us to have the conversation in which we knew our own preferences. Mine would be like, yeah, I just prefer texting, it's quick and easy. And hers would be to pick up the phone and call. So that's fine because we both have those preferences and we can have a conversation, which we did, in which we said, okay, well, look, sometimes it's just going to be easier for me to text, but my request is that you understand that when I'm texting, where I'm coming from is like wanting to be in connection with you, as opposed to any other reason you might make up as to why I've texted you and not called you. And, and then I was also able to say, and hey, look, I know it's important to you, and I can certainly make an effort to pick up the phone and call more. But what I need you to know is that I might not always have that much time. So if I'm calling you, or if you call me and I sound rushed, it's not because I don't want to talk to you. It's likely because I have a client call, or I have 10 minutes to jam some lunch into my face, or, right? So what I need is for you to know that all those stories that might come up, they're not true. And so in this way, we were able to kind of take a look at like, okay, well, here's what I want, here's what I need. And then she was able to do the same. And we're able to reach a place of compromise where we're both trying to speak the other person's language. And this is what's so important. Whenever I hear people talk about like going to France and the French people are so rude, they're not. They're not at all. They just speak a different language. They're culturally different people. Sometimes it's really tricky, by the way, when you go to a country in the world where the people look a lot like you, as opposed to where if you go somewhere in the world where people don't look like you, where there's very culturally an ethnically different set of people that physically don't look like you, we are less likely to project onto them our opinions about how they should be. But if I go to a place where they look mostly like me, I'm going to think subconsciously that they think just like me. But they're not the same people. They're a totally different cultural group. So all these people that I've heard for all of my life tell me the French are so rude. I go to France and I start paying attention. I don't think they're rude at all. I don't think they're rude at all. I think they're different. And I think a lot of the times they're behaving how people behave if there's a language barrier. No different than if I suddenly found myself in Korea and I don't speak Korean. I'm probably not gonna say that much, I'm not gonna be going out of my way. And so it's just super important to understand, like, oh, that person over there is speaking another language from me. Now, how can I communicate given that? What do I want to attempt? Might I try to learn some of their language so that I can get by in this country? You probably would, right? I'm not going to go to some other country and expect them to speak my language. I'm the visitor. And so this metaphor to me is really important because it's that same idea of understanding that probably most of the people we're interacting with in the world, most of the time, are decent people with a good heart, just like you. But as soon as we feel misunderstood, or if we are mistakenly believing that everyone has to meet me where I'm at, I'm going to have a lot of disappointment. I'm going to feel unmet. I'm going to feel like people aren't making the effort because they're not trying to read my mind, know what is meaningful to me based on my love languages or my communication styles. Because I'm not expressing them. I'm not speaking my needs. I'm not speaking my desires. I'm expecting them to know them. And when they inevitably don't, because they are a human with a completely different set of love languages, communication styles, beliefs, and perceptions, I'm going to make it meaningful. I'm going to make up some story that they don't think I'm important. They don't think I'm smart. That person over there doesn't love me because they didn't call me. This person over there disrespects me because they texted me, or you name it. And or like my spouse isn't trying hard enough because I really love quality time and he, she, they are just bringing me flowers. And so you see this, in fact, flowers is a really good example where people are like, yeah, I don't really care about flowers. I wish people wouldn't bring them to me. Okay, that's fair. Have you expressed that? Because it might be worth letting them know, like, you know what, I really don't love flowers. And you might have a million reasons for it. Oh, like I know they're using hot houses and I just feel like it's a waste of the energy and blah, blah, blah. You might have a million reasons for it. Or maybe you just don't like flowers, or maybe you're allergic to them. I don't know. Or maybe you just want a hug, or maybe you just want a conversation on the beach, or maybe you want someone to come help you fix your gutter, like whatever it is for you. But if you haven't told them that, they're left to guess. And all of us left to guess will usually express our love and affection to people. We will try to communicate that to them according to what we want and we need to get our needs met, to get our desires met. So right away you can see how much love and connection and relationship gets lost simply because we are assuming everyone thinks and feels exactly the way we do, and they do not. And then when they show up differently, we take it personally. We think they should know. Why? And even if they do, let's say you have expressed that desire. You have said, you know what, hon, I don't love flowers. I wish you wouldn't get them for me. And then that jackass, they go and they bring you flowers. Well, now you've even said it and they're doing it. So obviously they're being spiteful. No, they're not. They're bringing you flowers because they care about you. And even if they know that's not your core love language or the way you want to receive it, it might be really important to them as a way to express it. And if we've got the aperture of our hearts closed so tightly that the only way we can receive love, connection, and relationship from people is in this like teeny tiny way that we insist it must be, think how much of those things that you want you're going to miss out on. Just because someone expresses it in a way that is not the way you prefer it doesn't mean they're not expressing it. Just because you didn't want the flowers doesn't mean that person doesn't care about you. We got to stop and we got to be able to speak each other's languages. We need to at least understand that we are always speaking a different language, even if we're both speaking English, or if we're both speaking French, or we're both speaking Korean. Because I'm going to speak my language, sourced from my thoughts, my beliefs, my desires, and my needs, which are a reflection of my core essence qualities. And those are one of a kind. Those are mine. They're bays. That person over there, they have their beliefs, their thoughts, their opinions, their preferences, their needs, their desires, and they're all going to be a reflection of that person's core essential qualities. And they are not the same. They're not the same. So I can't expect them to read my mind and speak only in the way that I want to be spoken to. I mean, I could expect that if I wanted, but again, I'm going to be mostly irritated with people and I'm going to feel unmet. I'm going to feel disconnected. I might feel unloved. I might feel disrespected. All because I'm unwilling to open the aperture of my heart big enough to allow love to come in all of its shapes. Not just the ones I want, but the ones that I recognize might not be my style, but that person over there is making an effort. Hey, they're doing this thing. It's not my like preferred way of receiving love or communication or what have you. But what I recognize is the effort. What I recognize is the intention behind where they're coming from. And if I know them well enough, I've taken the time to know, oh, this person loves acts of service. So even though it's annoying that they're, I don't know, reorganizing my dishwasher, which I didn't ask them to do, I can stop and go, hey, this might not be a complaint or commentary about my ineptitude at loading a dishwasher, although I probably am pretty inept at it. Adam doesn't think I'm very good at it. I don't care. They get clean, right? So instead of being like, they're doing this thing and it's a negative like commentary on me or they're doing it to spite me, like most people are not doing that most of the time because most people are mostly like you. So you got to take a look at yourself. Are you mostly doing things to people to be an asshole? Probably not. I mean, be honest. If that's the case, then you've got other work to do. But it's worth taking a look and realizing, like, oh, I'm just missing it because I prefer this, and I'm not catching that this thing they're doing, which is a different style than mine, is actually an expression of love, right? And so if we think of Marianne Williamson, she once said like one way to imagine, like to be in this world, is to imagine that everything a person does or says is either an expression of love or a cry for it. And if those were the only two options, oh, is that person expressing love to me right now, or are they asking for it? Maybe a few things might change. And if I only had those two options, I might be more interested in understanding how it is they're expressing it or how it is they're calling for it. Because I might want to know so that I can be in connection with them, so that I can capture all this love that's being shot at me like the rays of the sun. And I can do so by making sure my solar panels, my love panels, are open to receive. Doesn't work if they're in a box in the backyard. They need to be up on the roof and they need to be facing the direction of the sun. And so that's really what I'm proposing here is that we learn how to translate a person's way of being, way of speaking, way of acting, and way of loving so that we can capture the true intention of what it is they're doing. Because most of the time, it's probably from a pretty well intentioned place. And then we want to know what our own is really clearly so that we can ask for it. We might not still get it, right? It's not fair to go, my love language is, um, you know, words of affirmation. So the only way you can talk to me is words of affirmation. No, that doesn't work. I mean, again, if you just want a really small world with minute amounts of love, sure. But if instead you're like, oh, words of affirmation are really important to me, I could actually tell someone like, hey, I really appreciate it when you do this. That is one of my core love languages, and it makes me feel so important and so loved when you take the time to acknowledge me or to just send me a note and tell me you're thinking of me. That's really important to me in my heart. Well, now they have a chance. And then I also want to know, like, oh, but theirs is acts of service. So when they come over and rearrange my dishwasher, instead of rolling my eyes and taking it as an insult, I'm going to go, oh, this is annoying to me. Okay, yeah. But what they're really saying is, I love you. And this is one of the ways I show it. So, what we want to do is work on our internal translator so that we're able to catch as much of this as we can. Because honestly, life is short. It is short, it is uncertain, and none of this is promised. So, why on God's green earth would any of us want to waste our time missing out on all of the love, the connection, the relationship that could be there for us? Something to think about. What are your love languages? How do you perceive like think of someone with whom you just feel like you're always missing each other. How is it you're missing each other? What is not being said? How is it that you are not speaking your needs and your wants to them in a way that they understand? And how is it that you are not translating what they're saying or doing in a way that speaks of love to you? Because I promise you, that's the work to be done. I mean, only if you want to have more love, more connection, and more incredible relationships in your lifetime. It's up to you. Let me know. If you are interested, then I have just given you some real magic. So go forth and play with it this week. Have a ton of fun with it and let me know how it goes. If you have any questions, you know where to put them right over there, and we can keep this conversation going. Hey, Maria, I actually have to sign off, but I'm really glad to see you. Thanks for dropping in. Maybe check this out on the replay and let me know what you think. Ciao.